This episode of the Jesse T Show is brought to you by 46 and 2 Wealth Partners. This year, many people have lots of money questions. Finding the right information can be tough, and more importantly, finding someone that you like and have confidence in is even tougher. If you'd like to keep more of your money, and more importantly, if you'd like to stop trading time for money and live the life you deserve, contact 46 and 2 Wealth Partners today. Right now, Jesse T Show listeners will receive a free 15-minute phone call that will leave you with at least one idea on how to keep or make more money. Text promo code Jesse T Show to phone number 202-301-4503. Cliff, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for the invite. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, man, we hit it off pretty quickly, and I don't know if it's the Boston blood or if it's just two dudes doing their thing in the world that are happy and excited about that. But, we share an amazing mutual contact in Stephen Kuhn, who's been on the podcast before, and he's a tremendous human being. His story is incredible. What he does to serve other people and show up in the world is incredible. So talk a little bit about how you met Stephen, because he's an interesting dude.
Steven is a legend. I agree with that. And I specialize in doing LinkedIn outreach. So Steven was one of the people that actually was one of my targets that I was looking to sell my services to. And it's really interesting how I met Steven. So I sent him a connection request. Then I sent him a follow-up message, basically with the pitch. I sent him the follow-up message at about 11:37. He booked a call for 12 p.m. within that 23-minute window. And what I did is I sent him a link to a funnel. He went through the whole funnel, filled out the application, gave me all his information, and then was ready to be sold within 23 minutes. And basically, that's how I met Steven.
He is an interesting human being in a very positive, kindest way. I mean, there's these things that you hear about executives that when they're laser focused, they can churn and burn that quickly. And for just some context on Steven, for those who haven't seen the last podcast, I mean, this guy's an ex-combat veteran. He's a business change management kind of guy. Will go in and, increase the value of a company and either continue to help people run it or sell it. And then he's big into spirituality and plant medicines. And this is all the stuff that I'm into personally. So it's interesting how people can move that quickly. But for your point on LinkedIn, there's a lot of people I've been talking to. I mean, I've been on LinkedIn for years, but especially the last few months, that have become friends and clients and podcast guests because of my experience on LinkedIn. Have you found similar experience and successes through using LinkedIn?
I got a ton of relationships that I wouldn't have today if it wasn't for LinkedIn. Like even us having this conversation today is through my relationships on LinkedIn. Steven sent me an email saying, "Hey, Cliff, I think you'd be a great person to be on this podcast." I followed up with the email based on Steven's recommendation, and now I'm here. And another interesting story is there's one gentleman that I met. His name is Reginald Grant. I met him about a year ago, maybe 14 months ago. Me and him speak every single day for the last 3-4 months. And I literally met him through LinkedIn. He's helped me get on he helped me be a celebrity speaker at the Los Angeles Black Business Expo. We're working on the Black Writers on Tour. We have like 5 or 6 different projects that we're working on, literally from outreach that I did on LinkedIn 14 months ago. And the irony in that situation is he was coming to Boston. So I sent him a message on Monday. He happened to be coming to Boston on a Friday. So we got to meet in person. And it's just kind of like how things just come together. And if you're not on LinkedIn, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. And there's a lot of genuine conversations that I had. Literally,
it's amazing the serendipity that happens in life and these people that come into your life, fate, karma, happenstance, whatever you want to call it. And all of a sudden your lives are enriched because of this. And it's interesting, man, because, I've used LinkedIn for years and I know that over the last probably 18 months, give or take, maybe a little bit less, it's definitely seen a huge increase in usability in terms of there's a lot of focused attention on LinkedIn right now. Like, Instagram was kind of the hot thing for a long time. You get some younger people doing TikTok, but LinkedIn's really kind of coming along. And I know some amazing people that are good friends of mine. Here's the thing. I got one buddy I'm thinking of right now. His name's Jordan Mendoza, another amazing podcast host, another amazing sales guy, great human being, great dad. He and I collaborate a ton. I've literally never met him in person yet. And so it's interesting to now see that these relationships that take form, a lot of times you don't even have to meet people, which is strange because I'm used to a handshake and a hug and like I'm very, in-person kind of guy. Have you met some people that like you've done business with and or connected with that you actually haven't seen in real life?
Yes. I got a couple of clients that I met through LinkedIn, a lot of relationships, and I actually have a content marketing strategy that I'm building where I'm posting every single day on LinkedIn. And you'll be surprised just with posting content daily, how many relationships and connections you build. And some people may never even send you a message or may never even speak to you, but you still have an impact in their lives. So there's so many different types of conversations that I had on LinkedIn. Some of them became bigger than what I've expected. Some of them just were heartfelt moments, and some of them I'm looking forward to those other future moments. So LinkedIn has been huge for the past 2 years for me, and it's big for business as well. All the CEOs and decision makers are on LinkedIn.
Yeah, man, I agree, and it's been beautiful for my business, and being able to connect with people, and then also the podcast, and then like you said, speaking engagements. Now that we're somewhat still kind of in a virtual world, a lot of conferences are happening online, and so you're seeing a lot of LinkedIn lives or conferences happening kind of through that medium. So, with your experience on LinkedIn, let's kind of touch on this a little bit more before we jump around. But you talk about posting it once a day. And, for most people, like let's say you're a Gary Vee disciple. Gary Vee talks about posting 5 to 7 times a day through social media. But on LinkedIn, most people don't think of that. Now, I'll tell you, for me, I was going like 1 to 2 times a day on LinkedIn, and I kind of found the sweet spot, like right what you said, right around 1. Talk about your content strategy a little bit on kind of like your thought process and how you approach LinkedIn in terms of content. And then also, what has your experience been with the new stories? I think they're friggin' amazing. Have you actually been able to play with the stories and use those, daily?
I love, like, with LinkedIn. So there's multiple components with LinkedIn. I find that the content that I share where I'm just kind of speaking my services doesn't really get as much engagement as the content that is just being genuine and sharing with people. Like, for example, when I go my pitchy content, you may get 200, 300 views. When I just go general adding value content, like I have this one video that has about 6,000 views, and it's a police officer saving a dog that looks like it's drowning in some water. I got so much engagement on that, so many likes, so many comments. Yep. One gentleman even personally reached out to me and was like, Cliff, I love the content that you're posting. And there was one person that had a negative comment, and he responded to the negative comment just because he didn't like it so much. Like, the person was like, is LinkedIn a new Facebook? And I replied, like, it's what you make of it, But another person felt even more of a need to reply and was like, got upset that the person said that. So that's what I'm finding with the different type of content that I'm posting. So the value content goes further than just pitchy content. Yep. And that kind of goes with the Gary Vee model. Add value, put yourself out there, and attention is the new asset right now. And as far as the stories, I've played around with it. I haven't played around with it as much as I would want to yet. But that is huge as well. And it's really just building a personal connection. That's what LinkedIn is for. It's not really just for sales. It's building your brand, putting yourself out there, and building the personal connections.
For sure, brother. You hit the nail on the head. It's all about being personable and likable, and people getting to know who you are and pulling the curtain back on your life. There's two mindsets to this that's happened to shift in the last few years. One of them was celebrities. And celebrities, for a long time, they were taught and trained to not really show anything about their personal lives, whether it was skeletons, whether it was, even for just the movie business itself. The idea was that you could only see Will Smith on the big screen. Like, you weren't supposed to see behind the curtain. But then a shift happened years ago and through social media where you have these amazing, huge stars, The Rock, Kevin Hart, Will Smith, that are putting out insanely good content. And it's because they're putting out stuff about their lives. And people aren't like not showing up to the movie theaters, pre-COVID. There are actually more people showing up because they're falling in love with these people and getting to see behind the curtain. So I think that's one piece. And the second piece that kind of talks to being personable is people want to do business with who they know, who they like, and who they trust. Mm-hmm. And if they know who you are, and if they like who you are, and they trust that you can deliver what you say you're going to deliver, that's what people want. People want to do business with, like, basically their friends or people they consider, acquaintances. So I think there's this real good psychology about back in the day where business was business and it was two separate things. No, it's completely the same thing. I love what you're saying there.
Yeah, like what I even with me personally, with my agency, I thought build the company, build the company. Then I realized like, whoa, 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 whoa. I think I'm doing this backwards. I should be building the brand, building my name, building my reputation, because that in turn builds the company, gets more people to know me. If they don't know me, they're not going to do business with me. If they don't like me, they're not going to do business with me. And it's never really the price. It's really about the person and the value add. So if I'm charging $10,000 for a service, I better give you a $100,000 value. If I'm charging $1,000 for a service, it better be a $10,000 value. So there's a bunch of misconceptions that I personally had when it came to understanding the importance of building your personal brand and getting that like factor. If people don't know you and they don't like you, they're not doing business with you. And adding a face to your business is even more important, because people are attracted to other people. They're not attracted to just a business. Like you said with The Rock and Kevin Hart, once people realized, wait, they're humans too, they became even more of a happy customer. And what I recommend is you want to build raving fans, and adding that personal touch is what helps you really build raving fans.
For sure, brother. So I know your backstory. I know a little bit about kind of your history, but up to agency point today and celebrity speaking and all these different things. Where did this start? Did you always have an entrepreneurial hustle? Growing up in Boston, I feel like everybody has some sort of hustle. But as far as where you got your start and what pointed you in the direction to where you are today, like walk us through that path. Give us the cliff notes.
So the Cliff Notes, born and raised from Cambridge, Massachusetts. I know you're from Easton? Eastie. No, Eastie. He's a Boston guy. So I'm a Cambridge guy. Cambridge and Boston, we're on two different sides of the bridge. And we we publicly think we're better than every other city in Massachusetts. So that's an inside joke between us. But I'm from Cambridge, Massachusetts. I actually grew up in subsidized housing in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And one of the interesting pieces about that is Cambridge is really known for its education and its diversity and all of these different factors. But I grew up in Jefferson Park, which is in North Cambridge by Alewife train station. I lived in another subsidized housing area called Wrench Towers. But Wrench Towers in Jefferson Park, that's basically where I came from. And as we got older, we actually moved out of Cambridge, ended up getting a house in like Rosendale, Massachusetts, but I never really left the city just because it was everything to me. Yeah. Moved out in 5th grade and it was like the worst time of my life. And like my mom would always say these things like, Cliff, like you don't want to live in the projects forever. I didn't get that as a kid. I thought like, wait, this is where all my friends are. This is where my community is. Why are we leaving this place, So I didn't get it. But as I got older and like, I realized some of those surroundings and some of the things that I thought were normal may have not been normal to other kids. And as I went to college and I ended up going to Cambridge Interland High School, did not have the best grades because, again, I wasn't around the people that thought grades were important. I was just kind of doing my thing and kind of not fell through the cracks, but I did kind of fall through the cracks. I didn't really have the support. I didn't really know what I wanted. I just was doing things to just do it. Until this one day that I visited a friend at UMass Amherst. I believe it was like my junior year, my senior year. And I was like, whoa, this place is new. This place
a whole new world.
Amazing. Cambridge, subsidized housing, Cambridge Interlatin, getting into fights, getting into all those crazy things. And, I was like, I wasn't.
People don't realize how much of fighting town Boston is. Like, I grew up fighting my whole life. I was bullied. I got into fights, like all this crazy stuff. And people, when I tell these stories, are like, it's like they think of Sparta. Like everybody was fighting growing up. It's just how it was.
Yes. I was one of those people. And like, the reason I got suspended a bunch of times, I was one of those people, 5-day suspensions, 3-day suspensions, normal for me. And like, some of the deans, they were like, Cliff, like, I don't know what it is about you. I don't know if it's like your glasses, but like, you don't look the way you act. And I had a lot of anger problems. So I ended up going to visit UMass Amherst, and it opened up my eyes to like, whoa, so the place is bigger than Cambridge, and the place is there's so much more outside of this place. And I was like, all right, this is the college I'm going to go to. I only applied to one college out of high school. I did not get in because my grades were shit, to be straightforward. 2.3 GPA. So I had to go the associate's degree route. I ended up going to Middlesex Community College, getting my associate's degree. First semester, a lot of my friends were there. Second semester, it dwindled down. Third semester, it dwindled down. Fourth semester, it was basically just me. So one of the struggles that I had in life was I always wanted to take people with me.
Yep.
And then I realized, like, you know what? You're meant to just go do that on your own. So 2.5 years, got my associate's degree from Middlesex Community College. Finally got to UMass Amherst, but even getting to UMass Amherst, I didn't understand I had to pick a major. I didn't understand how to fill out my housing. I was still in that subsidized projects mindset,
Yep.
not having the support, didn't really know what I wanted. I got there, I picked sociology as a major. First semester I was undeclared, wasted my time, paid for it, credits, but at the same time, there was no structure, there was no system, there was no foundation. So I grew up pretty lost, I would say. Not lost, I had family, but I didn't have the business structure. I was always intrigued by getting money and being independent, but I didn't understand how to actually make it in a world where I came from. It was different transitioning into this whole new world and this new complex. Long story short, I'll try to sum this up, but I ended up getting a dual degree from UMass Amherst. I got a dual degree in sociology and political science. Best time of my life. I would not have traded it in the world. I got there in 2010, didn't leave till 2016.
Hell yeah.
I graduated in 2013, but I stuck around for 3 years, basically like knowing that I didn't want to go back home because it was like, what am I going to do going back home? Like,
You found paradise, dude. You saw a different slice of life, man. You saw what we grew up with in the hard knock streets of Boston and all that happens up there. And then even though that UMass Amherst is still in Massachusetts, it's like a whole new world for you. And you're meeting different types of people and seeing backgrounds and seeing stuff you like and love and maybe stuff you didn't. And like kind of your worldview was completely shaped for the rest of your life.
Completely. And like meeting people where they're like, you're the first Black person that I've met. And I was like,
crazy.
Wow. I was like, where do you live? Like, do you live in the United States like I do? Like, but it was normal. And like having teachers think you play basketball just because you're Black, having nurses think you're an athlete. And I was like, no, I'm here because I got a brain.
Yep.
So it was like all those little adjustments of realizing the world was completely different from Cambridge, realizing the world was not as diverse as Cambridge, realizing the world was it was a huge culture shock, but it was also a growth shock. And it put me in a position where I let go of a lot of like when I first would go to the parties, I would look around the parties and be like, is there anybody in here that I have a problem with?
Yeah.
Just to make sure. Like,
oh my goodness.
I wasn't used to it. I wasn't used to like going to a party. I was like, is there any problems in here? Like, all right.
I can't, like, it's one of those things I've forgotten, but it's the same thing. Like, you have to be careful of your surroundings, like going into a situation, make sure no one's there to harm you. Like, I forgot all about that.
Yeah. It's a mindset. And then you're like, wait, everybody's like me and we just drinking and partying.
Right. Like, it's cool. Like, nothing's going to happen. Like, outside of like just normal college stuff. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. So it was a lot, and like, I had some situations that were not the best situations in high school just because of my surroundings. And like, I have some scars that are still there. And like, you don't really talk about it, but at the same time, like, who wants to be a victim? But I've had my moments, and moving forward, I basically was like, I don't want any of this. I don't want this lifestyle. And like, I don't want to be around this anymore. And it was like, what am I going to do? Like, I don't even talk about this. I think it was like 2006. I was at a house party and like some situation happened a couple years prior when I got kicked out of school for doing something I shouldn't have did. And then I was in this, one of those programs where they kick you out of the public school and you have to go to that
alternative
program. Yeah, alternative program.
Yep.
And like, I ended up getting into some situations. Like, I have this scar right here, right? And that scar is basically like, I went to this girl's house party and things kind of just went left. I ended up getting stabbed in that house party. And basically, like, that's the life that I came from, right?
Yeah.
I got stitches, I got the scar, I'm good. But it was like, this is not normal, but I thought it was normal. And UMass Amherst kind of changed my complete perspective and just gave me that, like, all right, leave that surrounding and go towards this surrounding. But even from UMass Amherst, from 2013 to 2016, I was partying like a rock star, living the best life that I could ever wanted to live. And I was doing what I wanted to do, girls and like, biggest house parties, everything, right? But I still felt lost. 2015, I went to my professors and was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. What do you think I should do? She was like, Cliff, maybe you should be a lawyer or something like that. And I'm like, me as a lawyer? I always wanted to be a lawyer, but She was like, I think academia would be better for you because you would have more autonomy as a professor instead of a lawyer. So I was like, all right, let's do it. So I shifted my focus, started applying for grad school. I applied for like 15 grad schools. I applied for like 15 master's programs and maybe like 5 or 6 PhD programs. Didn't get into one PhD program, but I got into multiple master's programs. And one of them was actually Villanova University. And then I basically got into Villanova, and I ended up going from UMass Amherst to Villanova 2016 fall semester. And that was like another transition point in my life as well. Villanova was like a different type of money from UMass. UMass was like kids like me. Villanova was like kids with more money than me and like way more money than me. And it was like a Catholic school, so it wasn't a party school. It just wasn't the same energy. And then I was older.
Yeah.
So it was like even more of an adjustment. I failed my class first semester. I failed the class first semester basically because I had an emergency eye operation. Horrible luck, right? I couldn't do work for like 2 weeks. And like,
talk about that eye operation, like what happened and how you came through that.
I was literally feeling something in my eye. I didn't know what it was. And I woke up the following morning and it was like this liquid around my eye. It was like this liquid literally around the retina or the black piece. And it was just like this thick liquid. I didn't know what it was. It was like a benign cyst, I guess.
Wow.
I had to go through this operation by myself in Philly. The healthcare in Philly is completely different from Massachusetts. I had Mass Health, I think, at the time. So they were literally like waiting to process my insurance while I was sitting there with my eye, like in this pain. And then like I showed up for the operation the following morning because they didn't do it that same day. And then they were like, well, we're waiting for your insurance. And I'm like, dude, what do you need from me to get this done? And they're like, all right, well, we just need like $800 and we'll get this started for you. I was like, all right, here's your $800. I sat there for 4 hours while they were waiting to figure out what was going on with my insurance.
Wow.
And I was like, dude, here's your money. Get this done, please. Woke up, my eye was good, but it took like 3 weeks to heal.
Yeah.
And reading and looking at bright light, it wasn't comfortable. And like even reading and moving your eyes back and forth.
Was there a percentage that you could have had lost vision completely in that eye?
I don't even know. But, and I think I know what I got it from too. There was like an incident at like UMass where like I was leaving this location, and long story short, I was going up a ramp, somebody was going down a ramp, and like some dude was staring at me like I was doing something to him. I didn't do anything to the dude. And like, he was like, don't look at my girl. And I'm like, dude, I'm not looking at your girl. I'm just minding my business. But I think I know we had a little altercation that day. And like, I think it was from that day, but I didn't notice it till like 3-4 months later.
Wow.
So it was like, I got hit, but I think it was something in my eye. And from that punch to the face probably that day, I got him too, but it was stupid. But at the same time, like it happened. And
so the cyst essentially ruptured is what it sounds like?
Yeah, basically. It was like and I got it looked at because I noticed there was like a little bubble in my eye. And then they told me it was a benign cyst, like, a month prior, a month later, it freaking popped. And
damn.
It was
Villanova on an island going through this crazy ordeal with your eye. And what was the next moment from there? Like what was the next step from there?
Failing the class. I had to do this 15-page paper. I did it last minute thinking grad school was like undergrad. I didn't prepare. It was my fault. But instead of like giving me some time to fix it, the professor just failed me. I wrote her an email saying, hey, like, can we talk about this? And she was like, no, go speak with the dean of the program. I'm done. I ripped her a new one. I did not accept it. I wrote her the most outspoken email, CC'd the entire school, like the dean of the program, the dean of this, and I shouldn't have did that. Don't ever send long emails. Don't do that. And like, I created like energy that I shouldn't have created, and basically like I found out about how internal school systems work. They don't ever really side with the student when the student appeals a grade because it's them questioning the professor. And those people in that department need to work with that professor for the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Yep.
So it's frowned upon to change a student's grade once the professor gives you that grade. So it's basically like the system's set up against you in a way.
They take care of their own.
Yeah. So I had to get a 4.0 GPA the next semester or they were going to kick me out the program. So what did I do? I got the 4.0 GPA, but
Oh, yes.
getting that 4.0 GPA, there was a lot of doubt. And like one of them professors looked me in my eye one day, was like, Cliff, I'm not sure if you have the foundation to be here. And I was like, is that my fault?
Yeah.
I'm here now and I'm trying to learn. Why is that being the main emphasis of like this growth process? Why is it not, we're here to help you? So like I realized like it was me against them.
Yep.
So I got my armor, I got my weapon, which was my pen, and I got that 4.0 GPA. I
Oh,
transferred out
yes.
of that program, and I went from political science to communications. But then I realized communications was this, I was dealing with the same beast,
Yep.
just different department. And like I was so depressed, and I was like, dude, I didn't go to school to be depressed. I'm not getting depressed over writing a paper. I'm coming from Cambridge, Massachusetts. I think my friends are like in their room in the dark because of a paper that they got to be on. Like it just didn't make any sense to me. And I was putting my all into it. And I was like, I don't get it. Why am I still struggling to fit into this place? And I just left. But at that moment, 2017 is kind of when I started my digital marketing agency. So I was still at Villanova, but it was still the transition going from the academic world to like the full entrepreneurial mindset. There was a lot of trials and tribulations along the way, but at the same time, I made it. I'm here now. I figured out where I fit into the space and how I want to continue moving forward. And now I'm really like I'm specialized in search engine optimization, social media advertising, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube ads, web design, primarily consulting. I really like the consulting side. I don't like dealing with the workload as much. And I have a team behind me, so like they do most of the work. But at the same time, I'm the face. But at the same time, like I think I may transition to being more of a coach and teaching people some of the information that I have to help them kind of change their lives instead of just focusing strictly on the client side. I'll still get clients, but I'll be more picky with the clients that I work with and then go more B2C.
It's a good place to be, in terms of your business when you've been running it for a while and you start to kind of really figure out your quality of life and how that looks for you, and then changing your business to match that quality of life. And if you know that being in the weeds and having that workload is not attractive to you, but handling clients and mentoring them and coaching them and watching them grow and seeing their aha moments is what kind of drives you, and you pivot to that. I mean, that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. You have that freedom, but then also you have to have the discipline to be able to follow through on those things, right? Because, sometimes it's easy to stay in the status quo, or sometimes it's easy to kind of fall back on old habits. But once you realize something's going to make you happier and chase after it, I mean, that's pretty much the entrepreneur's dream. So how did you pivot? Where was the connection that came? And I think you mentioned this prior a little while ago, to kind of start getting on stage and speaking and sharing part of your journey and your story.
I think for me, I've always been an influencer, I would say. I just never really looked at myself in that light. I never really looked at myself as like a person that can inspire other people. I think I've been doing it my whole life. I just haven't been doing it on a stage until recently. And how that opportunity came about was just through the relationships that I built on LinkedIn and through Reginald Grant, that the content that I met through LinkedIn. He just called me and was like, Cliff, you want to be a speaker at this event? I'm like, sure, sign me up,
Is that him behind you on the wall, or is that you?
That's me on the wall, right?
Okay.
And that's me at the Los Angeles Black Business Expo. And then the one on the right-hand side, that's the 50, it's like 40 plus speakers, and I'm one of the speakers. So it was me, Les Brown, Dr. George Fraser.
Crazy.
40 other prominent business leaders. And like Reggie was one of them. The lady that owns the Los Angeles Black Business Expo, her name's Barbara Lindsay. She actually mentored George Fraser and Les Brown, and most people don't know that. So they know each other by first name.
That's crazy.
Point where it's like they both gave her a shout out even when they were speaking. They're like, thank you, Barbara, for inviting us. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people don't know. And I'm in the nitty and gritty because I have the relationships.
Were you able to, at your time at this expo or this conference, able to plug into either one of those gentlemen? Because I mean, I know Les Brown. I think everybody in the world probably knows Les Brown. I haven't heard the other gentleman's name yet, but I'll take a look into him. But for Les Brown, he's one of the most inspirational, successful African-American dudes there ever has been in terms of getting on stage and empowering people. And even during some of my darkest times in business the last few years, a few years ago, just kind of making a leap mentally, like his motivation and his practicality and his whole, if you look up, you can get up. And I mean, it's some of the most inspiring, information in the world. Were you able to try to get some, even if it was just a passing moment, a passing glance, to connect with some of these titans in thought leadership and like, absorb some of their information? And what was that, if you did?
Yeah, the thing is, it was weird because it was all virtual.
Okay.
And how I had the biggest impact is actually made all the content for the entire event. So every single speaker had that bio card right there, and every single speaker had like a speaker card. I made that for every single speaker.
Ton of value.
Yeah, they don't know though. So I'm more the back end guy.
Wow.
So imagine 50, 40 plus speakers having your content, but not knowing that they have your content. So that's kind of the magic that I do on the back end. And I have, shout out to my team for helping me do that. But we created all the content for the Los Angeles Black Business Expo. We're the official digital media partner for the Los Angeles Black Business Expo. There's going to be another event on November 27th, Buy Black on Black Friday. I have, he's doing something else. Reggie's doing something else with the vets. So I think it's the Trial-thon on November 11th.
Okay.
And that's with the Welcome Home Vets. We just did something last week with Black Writers on Tour. That was October 12th with Dr. Rosie. So I'm connected with these people, whether it's a physical, personal connection or whether it's a back-end connection, and we all are having impacts on each other's lives, but I haven't personally met them yet, but I will meet them eventually, especially once this COVID stuff kind of goes away and we go back to the more in-person. But it was a ton of value added just from being around them. And I can get used to this.
Yeah, I think once you get a taste for it and kind of get into rubbing elbows and shoulders, even if it's virtual at this point with some of these people, it's very attractive, and it's motivating to know that you're a giant that's growing in your own shoes, and you're standing amongst these other giants as well, and that's incredible. So what was your messaging or content? Was it on social media, LinkedIn, and things like this? Like, what were you speaking about at that event there?
It was how to build a brand on social media. So okay. It's again, like what I was saying, where people are focusing on the company instead of focusing on themselves. Like if you look at Donald Trump has built a name around he's built one
of the best marketers in the world. Love him or hate him.
Yeah, whether you love him or hate him, from a business standpoint, you got to acknowledge what he did with his brand. From a personal standpoint, whole nother conversation.
You'll appreciate this analogy. It's like the Yankees. The Yankees, we generally hate the Yankees in Boston. Yes, whether you do or don't, I don't know. I was just assuming you might. And then, the one thing I can say is I admire the shit out of how they've run that organization through the years, and Steinbrenner and the businessman that he is, as much as I don't really care for them. I don't really care. Like, I'm not a huge hater on the Yankees, but like growing up in Boston, it's always Yankees, Red Sox, Yankees, Red Sox. I could still acknowledge the fact, even if I didn't love the Yankees, that they were one of the best organizations in baseball and in business of all time.
And that's it. And I'll even go with more a general guy, right? Like Grant Cardone and Tai Lopez. Tai Lopez has multiple businesses, but you don't even know what he does, but you know his name.
Right.
So what I was basically speaking at that event is understanding the importance of positioning yourself, understanding how to build systems, how to build a team, and then how to actually focus on building your brand, because your brand, companies come and go, brands last a lifetime.
Yep.
So if you follow like the Grant Cardone, Tai Lopez model, they are giants in the space because they focused on building their personal brand.
100%.
So that was kind of some of the things that I talked about, and that's what I'm really focusing on right now as well.
Small world with bringing up, I've been to 10X before, Grant Cardone's event, and met some amazing people there. Because it's, for me, when I go to those conferences, I was actually about to put on my own conference here in Atlanta before COVID happened, but because I wanted to have something like that, but here in Atlanta. And when you go to these conferences, and whether you're speaking at them or you're a guest in the audience, it's all about the relationships, and it's all about connecting with people. And you'll find friends, you'll find business opportunities. It's great. But the other piece is, when it comes to Tai Lopez, it's interesting because my mentor, we don't have like a formal business relationship anymore, but last year I had engaged him for the full year. His name is Patrick Tucker. He's an investment manager out in Omaha, Nebraska. And one of his mentors is Tai Lopez. So like every single year, because Tai Lopez is huge on social media, building your brand, building businesses, and Patrick is smart enough to know that he needed to be able to do the same thing for his investment management company. He was able to afford it, and he went to Tai Lopez directly, where he was going up to Tai's house in LA and like all these things. insane. And so every year up until this year, there's this thing called the Berkshire Hathaway meeting, and it happens out in Omaha. And it's Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger. They come and talk about their business interest in the economy, and it's just kind of like Woodstock for finance, which is interesting. But the last couple of years, especially 2 years ago, I think it was now, Tai Lopez came out with Dr. Alex Mayer, who's his business partner. Dr. Alex Mayer is like a former NASA rocket scientist, and he's the brains. Like and Ty's smart too, but this guy's a freaking rocket scientist, right? Yeah. So I was able to rub shoulders with these guys and hang out with them and get one-on-one time with them in like these little roundtable situations. And they're regular dudes that are just they chase after things. And like you said, you don't know what they do. Like Tai Lopez just bought and Alex Mayer bought like Dress Barn.
Yeah. Pierre one.
Yeah.
He's buying brands.
And it's arbitrage when it comes down to it, right? It's like these things are on a discount. They're trying to reposition them and go online, which is super smart, and keep the brand alive. I mean, it's just like the whole malls, like a brick and mortar mall. I don't even know how they're still in business. And if they were failing before, they're definitely going to fail now during COVID. You got to pivot, and you got to learn. So in that same vein of pivoting and learning, you seemed like you were pivoting on how you were operating in your business in terms of running it one way and then now looking to do more of the consulting side. How have you stepped into that with more strength? Like, what have you learned about that for you that you really are attracted to? And then also, where are you learning from? Like, what are some of your thought leaders you follow or some of the books that you're into? Like, talk about that a little bit.
It's a perfect question. Amazing question. For me, I basically started in the Tai Lopez course, and that's kind of what gave me the spark.
It was the SMMA. Did you do SMMA?
Yeah. 2017, like January 2017. Oh, yeah.
We probably know a lot of the same people.
Yeah, a lot of them. And like, I was like, what is going on here? I was like, this is the future. So some of the information, I've compounded so much information over the last 3-4 years, and I'm still learning every single day. So I'm an open book and I'm a sponge. Everything that comes my way, I soak it up and I try to figure out how I can apply it to my life. And I'm understanding the importance of staying in my lane. So in the beginning of my journey, I tried to do everything and I tried to just throw everything on the wall and hope it would stick. Because I was following Ty, I was following Alex Becker, I was following like Todd, Billie Jean, Alex Becker, all the people even within this program and this course, Anthony Morrison, all those people, right? And they all did something different. Ty was just the face. Yeah. So you thought Ty was the everything. You thought Ty was the social media marketer, the SEO, the web designer, the copywriter, the graphic designer, you thought it was everything. But he positioned himself and had different people managing different things. So then I realized, like, I may need to get Ty just the starting point. Yes. It wasn't like after you take his course, you're just going to become this huge consultant. And the prices on there, I was like, how does he charge 10, 20 grand? Like, what? How do you do that? I didn't even think it was feasible. So building the confidence over the years and following some of these different people and taking all these different courses has really helped me kind of get to that point where I am today. Another person I would like to give a huge shout out to is like Joe Irway. Joe Irway is like the webinar guy, and he's like the super high ticket guy. He made me really understand the importance of setting up your business with a descension model. And he kind of leveraged Tesla's model, where Elon Musk started off selling a high ticket product, and then he downsold to basically be able to build Tesla to where it is today.
Yes.
So Tesla made, I think, about 87,000 vehicles, 2019. Ford and GM cranked out about 6 million vehicles. Tesla made more money.
Right.
So it's not necessarily about volume. It's about understanding pricing point and understanding the audience that you're looking to attract. And then my business coach, he was like, Cliff, who are you looking to attract? I didn't understand a lot of these little things. Yes. Again, that project kid that had project friends and held on to them for dear life until I realized, like, whoa, I got to let all these people go. And
not easy. But
not easy.
Like once you come to a point, it's not easy, like getting to that point, but like kind of once you arrive there, it changes. Your mindset shifts.
So with all the information that I was taking from Ties and all these people and all these marketers and seeing all the different possibilities, and then I got into the SEO world to a guy named Chase Reiner. Chase just crushed it with ranking websites. So I realized I'm more of the tech nerd than I am the front end guy. Yeah. I'm a back end consultant, tech nerd, and I got to claim it. So that's basically from the combination of all the people skills that I got. And then as far as, I believe, what was the other question? The question was
just kind of like, it was really just the thought leaders that you're into that have helped you get to that point, and kind of like what you've learned in that transition of, changing your mindset about how you want to run your business. What was the inspo for that? And then what have you learned from that kind of mindset shift?
So I understand the importance of building inimitable skills. That's from Ty Lopez, big fancy words. Inimitable is basically, there's Kobe Bryant, which is like 1 in a billion. And then you have a chef, which is anybody can be a chef. Not anybody can be Kobe Bryant.
Right.
And the skills that you develop is based on information that you capture. So as you start being around these people and you realize like Ty Lopez is just spewing all this great information off the top of his head. And I'm like, how did he do this? Like, how?
Right.
But now I'm at that point where like I can have a conversation with somebody and blow them away because I sat down and I took the time to understand it. And now I understood it's not just about getting a college degree. It's about building rare skills that you can charge people a lot of money for, and then you can deliver as well. So once I understood I want to be a Kobe Bryant instead of just being a chef, I also realized like my business, I was attracting the wrong clients again, because the mindset, appearance, delivery, approachability, pricing, I thought, oh no, charge $1,000, be affordable. No, you don't want to be affordable. Affordable attracts affordable mindset people.
Yep.
High ticket attracts high ticket mindset people. And
100%.
when you're dealing with millionaire clients compared to dealing with $100,000 clients, it's a completely different beast. And I undervalued myself a ton. And I realized like I'm not doing that anymore. So that mindset shift just happened from the information I was absorbing, from the people that I was around, and from dealing with headache clients.
Yeah, man. You talked about earlier about when you were kind of building the business, and I feel like every entrepreneur or business owner goes through this, where when they're scaling up and they're brand new, the first year or two, they do that spaghetti against the wall kind of thing. And I use that term a lot when I talk about my transition, because my transition was somewhat similar. I went from a financial registered representative, where I was working with a broker dealer selling insurance and investment products and services for a commission. And because you're in a commission world, you're always chasing the next sale, the next sale, the next sale, and you're throwing spaghetti against the wall, like just trying to get something to stick. And I knew that wasn't going to be long-term. And that's why I've evolved into what I have today for my wealth management firm, where it's a consultancy, essentially. Like, people hire me for my advice. They hire me to do their investment management and do their trades for them, but I don't charge commissions. And it's been a beautiful switch, because to go from that, in a sense, nickel and diming, to charging a certain fee every year for portfolio management, a certain fee every year for the advice, which is two separate things, you really do attract the type of people you want to work with. And you attract the type of people that, my old mentor, who's, really close with Ty, Patrick Tucker, he uses a military term. It's called PITA, pain in the ass. He's like, you want to remove the pain in the asses from your business before they come into your business. And there's ways to do that through onboarding and through assessments. And I know Ty loves assessments, and I've seen some of his assessments that he uses with people. But, I do similar stuff in my business. And the quality of life that I'm able to have because of the weeding out of the PITAs, and because I am going after high ticket clients, it makes my life amazing. And I don't even, I work and I do my thing, but at the same time, I feel like I don't feel like I work as much as people. It's really weird, because I've made it the business that I've wanted.
You're happier.
Yeah,
you can feel it. I can feel it with the tone and the energy, your comfort level. And like, sometimes these clients may be a little more uppity and like needy, but I'll deal with the needy. You're paying me for it. You're needy and you're not paying me. Oh my gosh. It's like, I have to go through that pain. And when you go through that pain, and like, it sucks. There's no worse feeling. And like, I went through the free trial phase. You don't want to go through that.
No. Time was money.
Free trial. I'm desperate. And one of my biggest pieces of advice, always never sell your need. Always sell your success.
Yep.
In the beginning, I was selling my need. Now I sell my success. So it's about the positioning and the framing of the conversation.
What does that mean for people that are listening and watching? So like, you're selling your need versus selling your success. Kind of break that down, what that looks like.
So my name is Pierre. I am the founder of Revenue Boomers Digital Marketing Agency, also a celebrity speaker. We specialize in helping businesses scale and grow to get more customers. That's a framing. All right. That's one approach. Do you want to talk to that guy, or would you want to talk to this guy? Hi, my name is Cliff, and I'm looking to get clients, and we really need to get clients.
Yeah.
Would
Desperate.
you like to be one of our clients?
Right. It's a way different conversation, and it's interesting because I grew up in an outside sales world, and I'm very thankful for that experience. And we used to call it, people would have dollar signs in their eyes when people are desperate, when they're needy. You can feel that. You can feel that they're looking at you as a dollar sign versus they're coming to add value. They're confident in their messaging and how they're delivering what they can offer. It's two separate things. It's completely two separate. It's like the hot girl at the party versus the girl that's like, maybe chasing after you a little bit. It's like, maybe you don't want the one that's kind of chasing after you. You want to like go after the hot girl kind of thing. It's one of those things. It's weird how this psychology plays into it. But so with you and you're still doing your thing with the agency and you're growing it. Are you still doing any of Ty's courses? Like, you've done SMMA. Have you done any courses after that, or like looking forward to continue doing things like that?
Right now, I'm focused on learning government contracts.
Okay.
Government contracts is basically $1 trillion industry. And
Wow.
like a lot of the things that Tai Lopez taught, like Tai Lopez gave you the wrong mindset in the beginning. And I'll be transparent with, not to take anything away from Tai Lopez, but that mindset of giving businesses everything for $1,000 a month, you go in thinking that you're undervaluing yourself.
For sure.
And a government contract may pay you $10, $20, $100,000 for that same $1,000 service. But if your mindset is stuck on that $1,000 client and you're not thinking big enough for that $100,000 client, you're stuck.
Yep.
So in the beginning, I was stuck on that. I should just charge $1,000 a month. Then I realized, like, wait, businesses are charging way more than that. Like, one of my agency partners, he's like, Cliff, like, my minimum is $8,000 a month. I don't even take on a client if they're thinking they're coming to me for less than that. Right. He's like, I build the whole package. I don't just do one piece of it. If that's what they're looking for, it's not the ideal client. But that's a mindset shift. Tide makes you feel like just go get them.
Yeah.
And then as you grow and as you scale and as you realize, like, qualify your clients is the most important thing. Government is qualified. They're spending trillions of dollars every single year on services.
It's not their money.
Huh?
They're spending our money.
Some of these services are set aside specifically for business owners that look like me and female business owners. So again, it's the educational piece and the consulting piece, which I realized is what I was missing in certain elements. Now I'm going even more high ticket. I thought charging $10,000, $15,000 was a lot. Now I'm looking for $1 million contracts,
oh, yeah.
$2 million contracts, and the government is going to pay me hefty. So right now, that's my focus. It's taking all the skills and all the knowledge that I built from Ty, from all the other digital marketers, targeting governments because they need websites, they need SEO, they need social media marketing, they need all of this stuff. But if you're not in their systems and you're not registered, you don't have access.
Yeah, we talked about this offline, and I'm looking to circle back with you because you mentioned because of my veteran status or military status and some other stuff that I do, that there were some things I would have access to as a business owner. So we definitely need to talk about that, and then I can share my experience with the listeners and viewers as we go forward. I'd love to hear more about that. So with what, whenever you're an entrepreneur, business owner, independent, it's, in my belief, in my experience, it's super important to keep the tools ready and keep the tools sharp. And some of the ways that you do that are mental health and wellness, spirituality, physical health and wellness, being in shape. I like to call it being hard to kill. I
like that.
And so as far as for you, what are some of the things you're doing to stay healthy, mind, body, and spirit, so that you can perform at your best as an entrepreneur and be of service to those around you?
And I love that you bring that up. And there's a gentleman that I am around. His name is Chef Nico. Chef Nico is basically the chef scientist, nutritional scientist. He's a technology guy, but he's a technology of food. So I'm about to start transitioning and actually getting on some of the diet programs that he's creating. Beautiful. Right now, what I'm doing, I'm not happy with what I'm doing right now. And I want to be fully honest and transparent with that. The most active I'm doing is taking my dog for a walk. That's been like my get out the house and get away from my computer.
Yes.
And at the same time, like, I do need to get back to that physically demanding working out and all of that other stuff. So right now my mindset is shifting. Chef Nico's going to be a part of helping me build a program to get all the nutrients that you need and all of that stuff. But when you are going to the gym every day and you feel it, the way you breathe, the way you walk, and your energy,
Yep.
it's extremely important to take care of your mental health and your physical well-being, because you can have all the money in the world. There's not much you can do with it if you're not healthy.
This is my world completely, man. When we have, people that are wealthy, but they're not healthy, they would trade every single dime and find more money to be able to trade it for that health. It's one of those things where it's like, you can have all the money in the world, but if you can't get out of bed, what's the point? You know what I mean? And so I love what you're talking about, though, because food is medicine. And I'll give you some a tip. There's a company that I use called Viome, Viome. What they do is they give you this incredible analysis and detailed report specific to you on your gut health, your gut biome. So the biome is the word, but Viome is the company with a V. If you go on Instagram and check it out, they usually have some deals. But one of the best things I ever did was because I learned about where most dis-ease creates disease, and most disease starts in the gut. And so as far as health, what you're talking about, I think is beautiful with Chef Nico. Is he a Boston guy, or is he?
He's from New Jersey. New Jersey. We're speaking on a technology panel, doing a bunch of things together.
Hell yeah. So. Hell yeah. Those connections, man. So, food is medicine. And if you can get something like a Viome or another product, I'm not getting paid to use their name, but if you can get something like a Viome, and I just believe in this product, where you send them off, they ask for a specific, it's a stool sample. They ask for a stool sample. You send it off to them. And then in 2 weeks, you get this incredible, and you'll love this as you mentioned this, like a data nerd or like a tech nerd kind of thing. This data rich information that specifically caters to you. And why it's important is because it looks at a few things that are going on with your system that you may not be able to tell. Like, you may look at someone and think they're healthy, but like they could be dying and you just have no clue. Yeah. And so for me, what it taught me was things that I love to eat that I thought were superfoods that were good for me were actually harming me because my body wasn't responding to them. Things like scallops, like growing up in Boston, seafood's incredible. Scallops were bad for me at the time. Chickpeas, like hummus, was bad for me. And I'm thinking these things are healthy. I'm like, these are good foods. My ex-wife had an aversion to like broccoli when you think these foods are so good for you. And so what happens is now they come back with this information, and like the 4 things they give you, number 1, the superfoods, what foods you need to eat more of. And there's hundreds. You pick your favorite few and get after it. Maybe Chef Nico can kind of make dishes and, systems for this. The second thing is foods that are kryptonite, foods that you want to avoid completely, like foods that can kill you. The other thing is foods that are just kind of average. The last piece that's important is the probiotics that live in your body. And so naturally what you have and naturally what you don't have, it tells you what you need to eat or not eat to kind of adjust those things. And I think that, I'm going off on this tangent because I'm really big into the biohacking side of things. But nutrition
is important.
Nutrition outside of rest, like you can work out 7 days a week, but if you have poor nutrition or you're not getting enough sleep every night, you'll die. So it's like, I love where you're starting because most people don't start there. They just go to the gym and they work out 5-6 days a week and they're just not treating themselves right. So how did you plug into him? Was this another LinkedIn connection or?
Me and him were speaking at the Los Angeles Black Business Expo. I was a back-end tech, so I got to meet almost all of the people. It's like I was speaking in back-end tech, and we're going to be speaking on the technology panel. There's a couple of things that we're doing in the cannabis space as well.
Oh yeah.
So there's a bunch of stuff going on in the cannabis space, and he's going to be cooking with terpenes. And there's a website, Athletes in Cannabis, where that's going to be specifically targeted towards the cannabis sector and athletes that want to invest in cannabis, and then people that are looking to partner with athletes in the cannabis space. So there's a bunch of stuff going on right now, and Chef Nico's in that world with us.
I would love an introduction, man, offline. If I can connect with that guy, it sounds like he knows what he's doing. And I too was in the cannabis space back in the early 2000s in Boston. That was another entrepreneurial hustle. Much before it became legalized. So very cool, brother.
Well, entrepreneurial spirit.
Hell yeah, dude. Came up poor and had to make it happen. So, you're an amazing human being. I love what you're doing. You and I have connected on a pretty cool level right away in terms of sharing and trading contacts and being able to help each other with each other's platform and get in front of more people. I'd love to see, what the next, few conversations between us hold, man, because it's been amazing so far. But he's the amazing, the mighty, the powerful Cliff Pierre. I'm Jesse T. Be sure to catch us on next week's episode of The Jesse T Show.
Thank you so much for having me on. This is incredible. This is Jesse T. You need to be in contact with this guy. If you are not, you are missing out. All right. Follow up with Jesse T. I'm Cliff Pierre. That's Jesse T.
I love that you just closed out the show. That's beautiful.